Hello again, it's Jonathan at the Piano Lesson. This is our Christmas special, yay! And we're going to have some fun today. We're going to talk about chord substitutions and understanding harmony. And we're going to be talking about a song called Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. And I chose this song because another student of mine was very interested in learning it. And so we went through it. You know, the fun of playing jazz is that you are, being the jazz musician, are able to approach a piece of music in a variety of different ways. You don't have to just take the highway, you can take the scenic route too, and there are myriads of ways to accomplish the same thing, and that's kind of the fun of it. And then when you go to perform, well, you have a plan A, but you also have plan B and plan C and plan X, and you can execute any of those or none at all and just kind of see what happens. But I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So a lot of these songs just get played. Nobody ever thinks about them, think about where they came from, or, you know. But let's just talk about this for a moment. So Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. This is an old song. It's from 1943. And it was written by, and I'm looking at some notes, so that's why I'm looking at some notes, but it was written by Hugh Martin and Ralph Blaine. Now, probably most people haven't heard about those, and I will confess that they are not at the top of my list of songwriters that I know, although I should, right? But that's why I keep teaching, because when you teach, you learn. And so we never stop learning. That's the one thing I've learned. But it was written for a musical. Actually, it was written, and Judy Garland sang it in 1944. There was an MGM musical, Meet Me in St. Louis. Now, I'm just going to tell you that probably wasn't the biggest hit of all time, but if you don't know these composers, there's another tune that you might know, the Trolley Song. That was a fantastic song. Bang, bang, clang, clang, clang went the trolley. Ring, ring, ring went the bell. Zing, 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 da, da, da. Meant my heartstrings. Da, 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 dee, da, da, da. I mean, boy, that is a Broadway song if there ever was a Broadway song. You know, there's something characteristic about Broadway songs. Like when I'm using the word Broadway, I'm using the word in the context of, let's say, the golden era of Broadway, though I'm sure most Broadway performers didn't make that much gold except for a handful, but 1930s, 40s, maybe 50s, okay, maybe late 20s, I don't know, but that sort of era. But all of these songs, very uplifting and energetic. And the one thing about a Broadway song is that it leaves nothing to the imagination. It is very explicit, and it tells you exactly what it's supposed to do, and it takes the audience from point A to point B. And there's a certain mindset that you have to have when you're writing in that style. And I would venture to say that very few songs are written in that manner, for better or worse, anymore. In fact, I'm going to digress for a moment, but I was reading the other day, there was a major study, and let's see if I can just pull this up here for a second. There was a major study about what AI is going to do to the music world. And yes, it is the study on the economic impact of generative AI in music and audiovisual industries, and you can look that up. But it says that the music industry, whatever that is, I always throw a word, what is the industry, okay? By the way, just a little further digression, because I like words. The word industrious, it has nothing to do with building anything, okay? If you say someone's industrious, you mean that they are energetic. So that's really the essence of the word. But they estimate that there's going to be a 24% loss, revenues at risk of loss for creators by 2028. So that's very soon, right? This is a few years, 3 years or so, because we're almost at the end of the year. 24% music, 21% audiovisual. I don't know the distinction. Market for generative AI audiovisual content will rise. So the content, the demand for content will rise from 3 billion euros, which it is now. And euros as good as mine. Ha ha ha. It's going to go up to 64 billion. Yikes. That is a whole heck of a lot. Let us get our little calculator out. I find that I enjoy doing arithmetic in my senior years. It's just, I find it calming. But that revenue is going to go up over 21 times. Wow. And revenues from generative AI services in music and the audiovisual projected at 9 billion in 2028. So up from 3 billion now. So just in the next 3 years, we're going to go. Also, this is a job. This is a job for your calculator. It's going to go up 30 times. Wow. I listen to a radio program, which will remain nameless. It's called The Tom Hartman Show, which I had mixed feelings about. But they entertain themselves and their audience by getting a bot to make music for them, make little musical spots. And they genuinely believe they're making music, and I think genuinely believe they have talent. There's no greater thing in the world than to commune with music and to make music. And there's no greater tragedy than to be under the illusion that you're doing that. That was one of my great heartbreaks was, when I teach people who are using electric pianos and keyboards, and they're fine to a certain extent, they're a convenience, but the students and their parents don't understand that what they're doing is they're not really playing on a musical instrument. It's not a musical instrument because it just doesn't have the depth and the beauty. And if they were able to make it electronically someday, well, that's just fine and dandy. Actually, so for instance, when I go out and play professionally, which is rare these days, but there's one sound, electronic sound, that I particularly do use regularly. That is the sound of the legendary Fender Rhodes electric piano, which I used to carry around as a young person. Just the keyboard itself, not the legs, not the lid, nothing, just the keyboard itself was like over 70 pounds. And I would carry that myself up and down stairs. I don't know how I did it. Well, I know how I did it because there's a little trick where you'd use leverage, and I would tie a belt on one end because there were handles on each side, and I would tie a belt on one end, and then I would be able to hold it and kind of carry it. Nowadays, they are able to electronically emulate that sound to a fairly accurate degree, and in many ways, I prefer it simply because the old Fender Rhodes electric pianos were mechanical, and they had to be tuned, and they were problematic, and they had quirks, and they had a very low preamp on them, and la-da-da-da-da. There were technical things that, they still, though, I will admit, there's nothing that can compete with them. I would probably always opt for something like that because they are just so beautiful. There is a store in town on Southeast Division called, what is it? Really Great Things or Really Cool Things or something like that. It's a store of all kinds of eclectic things. And they have a really nice old-timey suitcase electric piano. So the suitcase pianos are the ones with built-in speakers. Well, not necessarily built-in, but it was part of the package. And you had this enormous speaker cabinet. So you had a lot of sound coming out. And they were quite beautiful. So the modern ones, my favorite modern one, which I don't think Yamaha makes anymore. Was it Yamaha? What was it? Is it the CP4? I think that's what it is, the CP4. So the CP4 which I have, which I hardly ever touch anymore, unfortunately. But to me, that it still has the best electric piano sound and the best keyboard feel I've ever felt anywhere. And it actually has wooden keys. Not that that amounts to a lot necessarily, but certainly the action is superior to that of the old Fender Rhodes pianos, because you had to adjust the action too on those. So how's that for a digression? That's a pretty big digression. So anyway, I got into that because I was saying that there's a place for electronics, and that's fine. And if they could make something electronically that somehow managed to be as beautiful and varied as an acoustic instrument, I wouldn't object. That would be fine with me, but it hasn't happened, and it's unlikely to happen. Just intellectual stuff. And I think the attitude, Radio Shack, making your own radio and things like that. So it has the same attitude with music. You wanted to make your own songs and really understand how to make them. Not just press a button on a bot. So going full circle, this radio show that I listen to, they make these songs and it generates these lyrics. And of course, when I grew up, computers were stupid, and they're still stupid. They're still not stupid, dumb. I think we call them dumb. They're dumb. You have to tell them what to do. You still have to tell them what to do. I mean, and especially a bot. I mean, especially a chat bot that just, is just a geyser of effluent, right? I mean, it's just lie after lie after lie. And why shouldn't it be? It's programmed by humans. That's what humans do best. Bots do two main things. They BS and they kiss your butt. Those are the two things they do really well, which is how humans get along in the world, right? That's really how we survive in modern civilization. So back to music. We're talking about song. So I was talking about songwriting, great songwriters. So here we're talking about great songwriters, and it was written for a show, Meet Me in St. Louis. And who sung it? Judy Garland of the Wizard of Oz fame, and no greater performer, singer than Judy Garland, and of course her daughter, right, Liza Minnelli. So that's a little background on the song. Maybe we should do a little playing now. What do you say? Well, let's look at this. Let's look at the tune. And I'm gonna I'll play a little bit of it, and then I'll give you a bird's eye view of what I'm doing. Now there is an introduction, and again, when I was a young lad, the old timers would say you got to learn the introductions. Everybody starts from the head. The head of the tune, the beginning of the tune, is have yourself a merry little Christmas, let your heart be light. That's the head of the tune. But there is an introduction, and the introduction is, oopsies, what am I doing there? I think I just lost my my song there. I'll have to get it back up. There we go. Press the wrong button on a computer, and that's it. That's it. You are done for. Okay. So the introduction. Christmas future is far away. Christmas past is due. Christmas present is here to stay, bringing joy that will last. Is that maybe not the greatest lyrics there? And then it starts. I'll tell you a secret, by the way. If you're trying to figure out a song, I can almost guarantee that the first note of any song is going to be one of three notes. Three. If you look at it sideways, it's one, but if you look at it that way, it's three. It's going to be one of three notes. It's going to be the root, the third, or the fifth. Okay? I can almost guarantee that. Okay? Over 90% of the time, 95% of the time. And the first two notes, the relationship of the first two notes, is most likely going to be a fourth or a fifth. Or a third. One of those, okay? So Christmas, that's a fourth. That's a perfect fourth, okay? Or have yourself, those are thirds, all right? And then a fourth. And what is that? That's just a major chord, okay? that's why you learn chords and scales, because that's what music is made of. And then Merry Little Christmas, that's a scale, right? So that's why you learn that stuff. And the harmonies that go with this, Christmas future is far away, Christmas past is due. I'm just trying to play real simple. Christmas present is, now listen to this, here to stay, here today, bringing joy will last. So same melody in the second measure, far away, and same measure, same notes in the sixth measure, here today. They rhyme, right? But two different harmonies. This is 1 C, 5 G, and in this particular piece of sheet music, they happen to play it in first inversion. And the chord actually is not just C. They include the A in it. A would be the 6. In this particular edition, they start the song on the first inversion chord C. I don't know if you noticed that descending bass line, E, D, C, B, A, G. That's nice counterpoint. That's nice counterpoint. I'm playing the bass line early. And then it goes to up a fifth to D in this particular bit of sheet music. I could have just stepped up to an invert, or could have gone down. That would have even been better, I think. Listen. That would have been a better counterpoint rather than just going up to the root. That's where, just by looking at sheet music, just basic chords, right? You don't have to play the root position chords. You can play inversions. Why would you want to play inversions? Well, to create a counterpoint, to create a counter melody. That is a counter melody. That's a counter melody, right? And if you hear that playing, we just had a tuba concert, by the way, downtown, I think. Big tuba festival. And I guess I love low brass. Oh my God. And I think my favorite brass instrument is French horn, which I'm told is maybe the most difficult to play. It's also kind of a strange instrument in that almost every brass instrument, the bell is facing away from you, but the French horn is facing towards you. And you put your fist in it. That's, all the other brass instruments I can think of, the bell is going somewhere else. That's why Dizzy Gillespie and his trumpet, he moved that up so it could get closer to his ear. At least that's what he said. But he had that trumpet most of his life. So, by the way, I got to meet Dizzy Gillespie. I got to play with him several times. Really interesting. When I was very young, and I really wanted to talk to him, and I didn't know what to say. And I'm at a rehearsal, and I went up and I asked the one question that I typically ask everyone who I think is worth talking to and a great performer. I asked their advice. I said, who should I study with? That was always my question. Who should I take lessons from? Because I loved taking lessons. That's why I still teach. There was no better time in my life than when I was taking lessons, and no better time when I was teaching. But it's both sides of the same coin. And I've maintained relationships with my teachers throughout my life, and some have passed away, unfortunately. And I've maintained relationships with students too. What was I going to say? Oh yes. So he said, study with Mike Longo. Call Mike Longo. Well, I didn't know Mike Longo at the time because I know who he is now. He was Dizzy Gillespie piano player and also one of the great piano players. And if you look around, you'll find some educational materials by Mike Longo. And he had his own way of doing things. He did a lot with percussion, which I thought was very interesting. He took the rhythmic element first, which really is the primary layer of music. And when you're learning music, it's better to learn kind of in the stratified way if you take melody and harmony and rhythm all at the same time, it's too much. It's too overwhelming. You can't do it. I promise you, I've studied with the best teachers, and when you learn stuff with them, they do one thing at a time. They take one, you learn the rhythm first. You don't even look at the melody notes, okay? And then if you look at the melody, you don't necessarily even pay attention to the rhythm. You just try to hit the notes. It's hard enough if you're singing. On the piano, it's way too easy to play a note in many ways. And you kind of miss out on all of the things that you learn when you're learning to sing or playing a brass instrument or woodwind instrument. But that low bass line, that would really sound great, a nice baritone horn, or, I guess tubas are down, really, really down low. But okay, so getting into the main theme of the tune, and I just got to make sure that I'm not, don't want to run out of time here. Ooh, the clock is ticking. Okay, well, what happened there? Okay. I hit the wrong button. So we have C, A, D minor, G. 1, 6, 2, 5. Right? Pretty common chord pattern. And then they do it again. 1, 6, 2, 5. And then do it again. 1, 6, 2, 5. And then our turnaround 3 dominant chord. You can have a 3 chord that's dominant. It's an artificial chord. What do I mean by artificial? That it's not diatonic. A7, 6, 2, go by the bass 5. And you go back to the beginning. All right. Now, that's just garden variety chords, and they work perfectly fine. Right? But let's try something a little bit different. Let me get this up here, and let's see, where did I see that? Oh, nope. I'm looking for some notes that I made. I don't really need them necessarily, but it would be kind of nice to have them. Here we go. Okay, yeah. So here's a possibility, and I'm gonna put you on my bird's eye camera so you can maybe check it out a bit better. Okay, so here's the possibility. Just starting with 1, now descending to 1, descending to B flat to A, and then to E flat. So let's do that. C, B flat, A minor, E flat, D. First time was this. That's perfectly fine. How did I get those chords? Another option would be C, E7, A minor, A7, D. The way I got those was by looking at the chords. So C, A minor, D minor, and G. All right. This is a potential key all on its own. We're in the key of C, so we're pretty much using the white keys. All right. But each one of these is a potential key center. That's a potential key center. Okay. So what do I mean by key center? Well, the key of A minor. When I think of a minor key, first think of the harmonic minor scale, okay? A, B, C, D, E, F, G sharp, A. We don't use that scale for melodies, but to reconcile the harmony, 1, 5, E7. We need that G sharp, even though it's not in the key. It's not E minor. We're not playing reggae. All right. if I'm going to the key of A minor, I almost always use the dominant chord, or the five chord, right? 5 in A is A, B, C, D, E. And dominant chords are always just that. They're, dominant chords. E7, E, G sharp, B, D, all right? So this chord, right? So instead of just lingering on the C, right, I can see this is 5 of 6. The E7 is 5 of 6. That is a secondary dominant. Right? A secondary key is the opposite of the primary key. This is the primary. One, that is a primary chord. That is the 1 chord. This is a primary chord. That is the 5 chord. Those are the primary chords in the key of C. But you can imply other chords. The key of D minor. What would be the key? How would you get to the key of D? Well, again, you'd have to figure out 5 notes. Okay, D, E, F, G, A. 5 notes in the scale. All right, that's A. 8. So that would be A7. A7 would do the job, just like E7 would do the job here. So here's 5, 1. So listen to this. 1, 5 of 6, 6, 5 of 2, 2. Why 2? Because 2 is the second note in the key of C. The D, these two chords, these are diatonic, right? Those are in the key. These are all in the key that we're in. And these are not in the key. These are secondary chords. These are artificial chords. Artificial meaning that the notes in the chord are not in the key of C. Right? But they are diatonic to whatever the secondary key is. So the whole thing, 1, 5 of 6, 6, 5 of 2, 2, 5. Now you'll notice some of the notes that I played are not actually in the chord. For instance, those are all in the chord. The melodies in the chord, melodies in the key. But this note here, that's A7. But that note is not in the chord. It's spelled in the music as C, but it's really B sharp. It's a sharp 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then a half step is sharp 9. And that's A7 sharp 9. And I'm actually changing one of the notes too, from E, which is in the chord, to, I'm raising it a half step to E sharp. That's a sharp 5. Or not. Okay, but I prefer that. I like that because there's a 5th there. I'm not as keen on that. And then there's no G in a D chord, but in our brand of harmony there could be, and it's just played briefly. 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's an 11. And notes that are not in the key or not in the chord, that are on count 1, that are on a strong beat, that's called an appoggiatura, right? That's a wrong note on count 1, but it's the most impactful of all the dissonances. 11, 9th, passing chords nevertheless, but this is on a strong beat, weak beat, strong beat, weak beat. Beethoven does that a lot in his music. You could turn that around, but and have the right note on the strong beat, but then it wouldn't have the same effect. This chord here, FAC, that's an easy way to understand an 11 chord. G is the root, 7th, 9th, and here's the 11th. Right? Now we're almost out of time, so I'm going to have to run, I think. I got to run. Okay. We're out of time. Uh-oh. Okay. I will try to finish this on the other end. I'll try to make a part 2, and we'll do the rest next week. Okay. You guys have a great Christmas, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.